Bellator 291, it is the rematch of Yaroslav, Amosov, and Logan Storley, but this time for the welterweight world championship. These two will headline an 18-fight card for Bellator this Saturday, of course, in Dublin, Ireland. You've got 18 fights in this card. The main card features the likes of Pedro Carvalho, Jeremy Kennedy, Peter Queally, amongst others. And again, 18 fights. This video might take a minute, but that's your main event. Yaroslav Amosov versus Logan Storley, the interim champion Storley taking on the undisputed champion, or for now the champion Yaroslav Amosov. We will find an undisputed champion with the winner of this fight. And folks, if you haven't yet though, make sure that subscribe button down below for some more MMA here on the channel. Yesterday we posted our UFC Fight Night Karvalho versus Spann full card predictions, so go check out that video as well. Link is in the description down below. So there's a lot of fights in this card, and for the first 12 we're going to start with this format of things. First up, Kavanagh Magomedsharipov taking on Rafael Hudson. We just did see Rafael Hudson against another man who will be on this card later, in Clarke. Since that loss against Clarke last year, Hudson has gone in, and it was really like 2 weeks after he lost to Clarke, came back, won a fight in SFC 3 against a guy who was 0-1 over in Spain, so Hudson has gone to win since his last Bellator fight. However, he'll be taking on the undefeated Hassan Magomedsharipov, of course, related to Zabit Magomedsharipov, but for Hassan, 22 years old, 7-0 professional MMA career to date. So far in Bellator, 2-0 professional run, or 2-0 run so far in Bellator. Both fights he's a minus 1,200 favorite in. I would think he's going to be somewhere in the ballpark of around minus 1,200 yet again for this fight. I think he'll get a second round submission win over Hudson. I'm not going to say first round, considering Hudson did stay in there a little bit against Clarke, so I'll give Magomedsharipov the second round submission victory. Next up, we have got Stephen Hill taking on Joel. Going to take Stephen Hill in this fight. I mean, his opponent's 7-9 in this one. Hill so far in Bellator 1-0, took on an Eden 6 fighter in his last fight. Hill's not, he's a good stand-up guy, decent on the ground as well. He didn't get a finish in his last fight. I don't think he'll get a finish in this one, so give me Hill by decision. Next up, this is an interesting one. We've got Dmitry Hertsenko from the Ukraine taking on Daniel Skatizi. I believe Dimitri's the favorite in this one. I'm not going to be taking him, though. I'm going to be taking the underdog in Skatizi here. Skatizi 12-6. He is coming off a win in his last fight where he did impress being Davy Gallon. I didn't think he was going to beat Gallon, but he goes in there and he picks up the victory by unanimous decision. When you look at Skatizi's run so far in Bellator, 4-2. I mean, the losses, he's got a loss to Alfie Davis back in 2019, and he's got a loss to Tokov back in 2022. But I mean, those are two solid guys. I know Tokov just lost to JJ Wilson in his last fight, but Skatizi's solid in that win over Davy Gallon, I think, is huge. He's taking on a guy here in Dmitry Hertsenko who's 7-0, but you look at the guys he's fought, he's got some fights against guys who don't have Tapology pages, and who knows? I'm not the biggest fan of Ukrainian MMA, just considering, just because of the, oh God, what's the guy's name? In the fraud guy lost to Alonzo Menafield in the UFC. I forgot his name. But anyways, so maybe that guy gives Ukrainian MMA a bad rap. Now, again, I'll have a different approach to Ukrainian MMA when I talk about the main event with Yaroslav Amosov. But anyways, I'm just not going to trust Dmitry here, and I'm going to take Daniel Skatizi here with the upset. I'm going to take him by decision. And then finally, the last one out of these four, we got Kenny versus Craig McIntosh. Craig McIntosh 3-4. Kenny's 4-0, undefeated. He's looked really good so far in his the two fights I've watched him in UAE Warriors early in 2022, then watched him beat Alex Bondar in his last fight by guillotine choke in the first round. Really good jiu-jitsu out the guy. I'm pretty sure he's an SBG Ireland guy. I'm going to take Kenny by first round submission here. Feels like the obvious pick. And the next four, first up, we have got Elena taking on Jenna Bishop. I'm going to take Jenna Bishop here. One of only two Americans on this entire card. Of course, the second one being in the main event with the interim champion in Logan Storley. But Elena's 9-4. Now, I have picked her twice before here on the channel. Back-to-back fights since she did go on the back-to-back losing streak to Bruna Ellen and Beck Rawlings. But Elena has looked good, her last win being against Kate Jackson in a fight that she was an underdog in, and she does go out there and she does get finishes, but I do like Jenna Bishop a lot in this fight. Bishop's looked really good so far in LFA. I mean, obviously the jiu-jitsu background, the grappling background out of Bishop, her 4 fights in LFA, she's won 2 of them by submission, 2 of them by decision. I think she's going to parlay that into a win here in Bellator. I don't think she's going to be able to get a finish because I think Elena is good enough to stay out of submissions on the ground. But I think Jenna is able to go in there. I think Bishop's able to get takedowns. I think Bishop's able to hold her down. Give me Jenna Bishop to pick up her first win in Bellator by unanimous decision. Next up, we have got Liam McCracken taking on a Seal. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. Obviously, we're taking Liam McCracken in this fight. For McCracken, 3-0 so far professionally, first one in Bellator, and he has only beat the combined record of his opponents outside, or really just in his professional career, is 1-1 after 3 fights. So, we'll see. But he's taking on a guy who's 4-1. Taking on a Seal here, who is on a 1-fight winning streak in Bellator after he did go there and get the upset against Jordan Barton at Bellator 285 with a head kick knockout in the first round. Is impressive, but I'm going to take the favorite here in Liam McCracken. I think McCracken's, he's a young prospect, 21 years old. Bellator wants him probably to win this fight. I'm going to take him by decision. Next up, we've got Dar Kelly taking on Dorval Jordan. Dar Kelly's, one of Bellator's bigger guys. He's an SBG Ireland guy. Undefeated so far professionally and amateur in his amateur ranks as well. 2-0 in Bellator, Junior Morgan victory, first round guillotine choke, then a Kai Stevens decision in 2022 back in Ireland as well. Again, Dar Kelly's really good. Really good ground game. A bunch of different submission victories, and he's taking on a guy here who's 2-2 in Dorval Jordan. The French-born fighter is on a 1-fight winning streak after he won on CGC 2 in Cyprus, the country of Cyprus. He beat a guy who's 0-0. He hasn't beaten a fighter yet who has won a fight in their career. His 2 losses come against a 1-2 guy and a 2-1 fighter. Really don't know anything about Dorval Jordan, but I'm going to be taking Dar Kelly here to win this fight. I got Kelly to win by first round submission. And then finally, we've got Piotr taking on Richie Smolin. I'm going to be taking Piotr here. I didn't think he was going to beat Pedro Carvalho in his last fight. He beat him by split decision, Bellator 280. He was an underdog in that fight, and he went in there and he got the victory. We talked about in that fight how, Piotr's on a huge winning streak. He has not lost a fight since 2017. He's gone in various different promotions, especially Babylon MMA, and he's gone consistently picked up victories. He came into Bellator as the Babylon lightweight champion. Of course, now fighting at featherweight for that Carvalho fight, and this Richie Smolin fight will be at featherweight as well. I'm going to take Piotr again. Now, I do think his opponent, of course, in this fight is pretty good. He's, of course, taken on Richie Smolin, who's 9-2, and Smolin's fought in Bellator before a long time ago. Most recently, he's been fighting in other promotions, but he's back after starting 3-1 in Bellator. He fought once in the UFC against Violent Bob Ross Luis Pena back in 2018. He lost by guillotine choke. But Smolin's a good guy. I just think Piotr's better. Piotr's got a lot more experience being 32 years old. He's already got a lot of fights under his belt. Already fought 21 times. This will be his 22nd professional fight. I think Piotr's going to go out there. I think he's going to pick up a victory. I've got him to win this fight by decision. And the next 4, we're going to start first here with Brian Moore taking on Luca. Brian Moore's 15-9. Of course, the Irish-born fighter taking on Luca, who is, I believe, 18-8. For Luca, just trading wins and losses a lot. He went on a 4-fight losing streak over in Cage Warriors and Venator, and it's been a rocky road recently for Luca. He'll be taking on Brian Moore here, who Moore, has fought some of Bellator's best. Obviously, got back on the winning track in his last fight where he's a -435 favorite. Beat them by unanimous decision. Lost to Jornel Lugo before that, and lost to Nikita Milikov before that as well. The record is 15-9, but when you look at the guys he's fought, he's fought, AJ McKee in the past. He's fought some really tough guys, Daniel Weichel as well back in 2016. Moore's been around for a while. He's 35 years old. I think this is a fight that obviously he's going to win. He's going to go in there. He will beat Luca, and he'll get it done by unanimous decision. Next up, we have got Nobert Noveni Jr. taking on Andy. For Nobert, this will be his first fight in Bellator since 2020, where he last won. Been a while, of course, for him, but he has won 4 times in Bellator before. And then, he's taking on his opponent here, Andy Manzolo, who fights out of Estonia. First Bellator fight for him since he lost to Charlie Ward back in 2020. But since the Charlie Ward loss, 3 straight wins for Andy Manzolo. Again, though, against guys who are 9-1, then a 3-26 guy who, Tapology is marked as a guy who is just, let's read it for everyone. This fighter has been found by Tapology to have engaged in activity which is not confirmed does not conform to combat sports standards. He's a guy who throws fights. He's lost 27 times, and 24 of them have been by knockout. So these are the type of guys Manzolo's fighting. He won his last fight by naked choke against the guy who's 2-2. That's all you need to know. He's going to lose this fight. I'm going to take Noveni to win this one by first round submission. Next up, heavyweight fight, we've got Sarikam taking on Oleg Popov. I'm going to be taking Oleg to win this fight. He's 15-1, of course, going into this fight. He's coming off a win over Bigfoot Silva, and it feels like everyone's beat Bigfoot Silva nowadays because that's kind of what just happens now to Bigfoot Silva. But anyway, he just lost his last fight, or Popov beat Antonio Bigfoot Silva in his last one. The guy's on a huge winning streak. He's on a 13-fight winning streak, I do believe. And he's not lost a fight since 2016 in Fight Nights Global. It will be his Bellator debut against a really good guy that Bellator's got in Sarikam here, a guy who can go in there, he can wrestle you, and he can, really work you on the ground. He's got a decent stand-up as well, but a guy that really will wear on you. So it makes for a real interesting fight, but I think Popov's able to land on him early, and he's able to put down the Turkish fighter, and Popov's able to win his Bellator debut by knocking out Sarikam in the first round. In their final fight of this 4, Charlie Ward taking on Mike Shipman. Ward is back yet again. He's 10-5, coming off that loss to Fabian Edwards in his last fight by unanimous decision. But that's going to happen to you. Ward was a plus 400 dog in that fight against Edwards, and Edwards will now be rolling into a main event spot in Paris in a couple months against Gegard Mousasi. And Ward's going to be taking on Mike Shipman in this fight. Shipman, of course, another guy who's lost to Fabian Edwards as well, but he's lost 3 of his last 4. It feels like a fight that Bellator is trying to get Charlie Ward back on the winning ways here. I think Ward's able to go out there. I think he's able to blitz Shipman, and I think he's able to put him down. So it's going to be Charlie Ward to win this one by first round knockout. A lot of first round finishes in this set of 4, but yeah, it can be Charlie Ward to beat Mike Shipman by first round knockout. So for our final prelim, we have got Karl Moore taking on Marcin Rozanski, the Polish fighter here. Rozanski, 33 years old, coming off his first win in Bellator and his only fight in Bellator. It's unanimous decision victory over Lee Chadwick. And for Rozanski, really good ground guy. I mean, he's trying to go in there. He's trying to submit guys. 9 wins are by submission for Rozanski so far in his professional career. And he's got a win over Makhmud Muradov. Actually, he's got 2 wins over Makhmud Muradov all the way back in 2013, 2014. A guillotine choke finish against Muradov in the fight in 2013, the decision victory against him in 2014. And Muradov, to this day, has, 8 losses? 2 of them do come to Rozanski. And that was what, troubled Muradov a lot early in his career was Rozanski. Rozanski also took on Jack Hermanson later on in his career. Now, Hermanson had better luck than Muradov. Hermanson beat Rozanski by unanimous decision. But still, Rozanski's been there. He's fought a lot of big guys. And again, it's been the ground game that's really won fights for Rozanski throughout the course of his career. But he'll be taking on Karl Moore in this fight. For Karl Moore, another guy who's able to go in there. He's able to get submissions as well. Now, does have a submission loss so far in his career, but it is against Paul Craig. And you know how good Paul Craig is. Craig submitted him with a guillotine choke back in 2015. For Moore, his last win is a fight in September of 2022. It's a second-round submission win over Carl Albertson. Went in there and got the rear naked choke win. Before that, his first fight in Bellator, another win over Lee Chadwick, just like Rozanski did. Both guys' first fight in the UFC, in Bellator, were wins over Lee Chadwick. Moore's being a split decision, and Rozanski's being a unanimous decision. I just think Karl Moore is all-around better. I think Moore's stand-up game is better than Rozanski, and on the ground, I think Moore's able to survive enough where he's not going to get dominated, obviously, down there on the ground by Rozanski either. So give me Karl Moore to go in there. I think he's able to win this fight in the final prelim of this Ireland card. Give me Karl Moore to beat Rozanski by unanimous decision. Next up, we have got Ciaran Clarke. He'll be taking on Leonardos Sinis here. For Ciaran Clarke, undefeated 6-0. It's a fight that he's going to win, obviously. I mean, you look at his last fight. We talked about it earlier against Rafael Hudson. He goes in there. He submits him in the 3rd round. Now, it was a fight that I thought he was going to win quicker than that. I didn't think it was going to take him to the 3rd round, but Clarke goes in there and he wins that fight. He's taking on a guy here in Leonardos Sinis who has lost 3 out of his last 5. Sinis is a guy who, I mean, he has won his last 2, but he really hasn't fought anybody. This is his first Bellator fight. You know what Bellator is doing with this fight. Clarke has fought all 6 fights to date so far at Bellator. He has won all 6 of those fights. He's won 2 of them by decision, 3 of them by submission, and 1 by TKO. He's going to go in here and he is going to dominate Leonardos Sinis here. It's a fight where Sinis does not stand a chance. They found this 30-year-old guy from Greece to go fight Ciaran Clarke, who's one of Bellator's top prospects. And Ciaran Clarke in his home country is going to win. He's an SPG Ireland guy. He's going to go in here and he's going to win. Ciaran Clarke will get the victory against Leonardos Sinis. He'll win it by first round submission. Next up, we have got a featherweight fight between Sinead Kavanagh and Janae Harding. For Janae Harding, 6-6 now after she's lost her last 2 fights to Leah McCourt and Danae Silva. So back-to-back losses for Harding has got her at this 500 record. She'll be taking on Sinead Kavanagh, who is 8-5, who in her last fight winning in Ireland back in February of 2022 in a fight where she blew her knee out. She beat Leah McCourt by unanimous decision, and after that fight, it was revealed that Scott Coker said in the press conference that Sinead Kavanagh was going to be getting the next title shot against Chris Cyborg, even though her fight before Leah McCourt, she lost to Chris Cyborg. Now, Chris Cyborg, is she still in Bellator? I don't know, because she has not fought in Bellator since the Arlene Blencow win back in March or I think it's April of 2022. So it's been a year since Cyborg's fought, give or take now, and I don't know if she's coming back. If Kavanagh wins, are they really going to do that again? I don't know. It's just that really there are no possible contenders for Chris Cyborg right now at 145 at Bellator. I mean, she should go back to the UFC, but will she? No. PFL, I mean, what, you're going to have her fight Kayla Harrison after she lost to Larissa Pacheco? I think if you're going to do that fight, Harrison's got to beat Pacheco first again when they fight. And then what, do you have Larissa Pacheco fight Chris Cyborg? You could, but I just think Cyborg beats both of those, and I don't really think either of those are big pay-per-views right now. But anyways, back to this fight, Sinead Kavanagh, Janae Harding. Kavanagh should win. I've never been all that impressed with Sinead Kavanagh, but she's a fighter that will go there. She'll swing. She did really well against Liam McCourt, took McCourt down when she needed to as well. She should beat Janae Harding. I mean, if MMA math ever means anything, Janae Harding lost to Liam McCourt. Liam McCourt lost to Sinead Kavanagh. Sinead Kavanagh should win, but really matchup-wise too, I think Sinead Kavanagh is the way better fighter. I think she's got a way better stand-up game than Janae Harding. Harding has lost 3 of her last 5, and yeah, I think the win should go to Ireland's own, fighting in her hometown for the first time in about a year since blowing her knee out. Give me Sinead Kavanagh to win and maybe get another shot at the champion in Chris Cyborg. Okay, Peter Queally taking on Bryce Logan. You know what this fight is? I'll tell you what this fight is. This is a way to get Peter Queally a win. I mean, come on. I mean, Bryce Logan's lost his last 3 fights. He is 0-4 in Bellator if you date back to his loss against DeMarcus Jackson back in 2018. Logan's on a 3-fight losing skid right now, all 3 in Bellator. He loses to Gorgi Karahanyan back in 2020, loses by split decision, loses to Mike Hamill after that by unanimous decision, and loses to Mandel Nalo in his last fight by knockout in the first round. They know what they're doing here. Peter Queally has been booked in Ireland, and he has not won in Ireland, right? I mean, the Patricky Pitbull fight, the second fight, the first one, Peter Queally wins, and they run it back for the vacant lightweight championship. Patricky Pitbull knocks out Peter Queally in the second round. It's okay. They book Queally again in Ireland against a guy in Benson Henderson, who Henderson at that time, was on a 3-fight losing streak. Then he beats Islam Mamedov by split decision. They book Henderson versus Queally, and Henderson beats him by unanimous decision. And now Benson Henderson is fighting for the world championship next against Usman Nurmagomedov in the first round of the Grand Prix in San Jose, California. But Queally's back, and he's taking on Bryce Logan. And again, Queally's 2-3 in Bellator. His only 2 wins are to Ryan Scope back in 2019 and then Patricky Pitbull in their first fight in 2021 in the Mohegan Sun. Okay, Peter Queally's not losing this one, though. I mean, come on. He's not losing again. He should be able to beat Bryce Logan. He is better than Bryce Logan everywhere. Queally should win by decision. Again, this is a Bryce Logan who is 0-4 in Bellator professionally. He is 12-7 fighting out of Sioux Falls, or he comes from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, now training, I believe, at Fight Ready MMA in Arizona. Peter Queally is better than Bryce Logan everywhere, and Peter Queally will get back in the win column with a victory here. I think his stand-up is better, his ground game is better, so Peter Queally, Ireland's own, will get back in the win column and finally win a fight here at home in Dublin. Give me Peter Queally to win, beating Bryce Logan by unanimous decision. Co-main event time, we've got Pedro Carvalho taking on Jeremy Kennedy. For Carvalho, I mean, coming off that loss, we talked about it earlier to Piotr, but then came back and beat Mads Burnell by unanimous decision. He was a plus 400 underdog in that fight. I don't know how he beat Mads Burnell, but here we are, and he'll be taking on Jeremy Kennedy in this fight. Kennedy 18-3 coming off that last win against Aaron Pico. Now, it is a shoulder injury from Pico. That is the final result of that fight, but that doesn't, still, Jeremy Kennedy's a good fighter who before that beat Emmanuel Sanchez. His loss in Bellator, his lone loss in Bellator is to Adam Borch back in 2021. But you know how good Adam Borch is. This is a guy who fought for the world championship, did lose to Patricio Pitbull in that eventual title bout. But still, Jeremy Kennedy's a good fighter. Did lose to Adam Borch. 3-1 so far in Bellator, fought in PFL in the past. Had his season ended by Daniel Pineda, but Pineda eventually popped for, I believe, was steroids, I think. Anyways, Daniel Pineda had an interesting run in the PFL, but he didn't, he ended up not fighting Lance Party Palmer because of his failed drug test. Anyways, Pineda's booked against Tucker Lutz, I guess, next month for the UFC. Back to Jeremy Kennedy, though, 3-1 so far in Bellator. Really good stand-up game out of him. He's going to be taking on Pedro Carvalho here. For Carvalho, he's going to want to take this fight down to the ground. I think it's a pretty obvious matchup for Carvalho. If he wants to win this fight, he's going to have to drag this fight down to the ground. If Kennedy's going to win, it's going to be a stand-up affair for him. We've seen Carvalho go in there in the past, and we've seen him, work his ground game. The win over Sam Cecilia, the win over Derek Campos actually was a knockout finish, but still, I think Carvalho's best bet is going to be on the ground for Jeremy Kennedy. His best bet is going to be on the feet. However, I have not been all that impressed with Pedro Carvalho recently. He's been an up-and-down run since that loss to Patricio Pitbull for the World Championship. Obviously, he was handpicked by Pitbull for that first round fight. Since then, for Carvalho, lost to J.J. Wilson, a win over Daniel Weichel, lost to Piotr, and then a win over Mads Burnell. I don't think he's going to get 2 back-to-back upset wins as he did against Burnell. I don't think he's going to upset Jeremy Kennedy here. I think Kennedy's going to go in there. I think he's going to win this fight by decision. So give me Jeremy Kennedy to keep the fight on the feet and to outstrike Pedro Carvalho for 15 minutes. Kennedy picks up the win here in the co-main event. Main event here, the rematch, Yaroslav Amosov and Logan Storley for the undisputed welterweight championship here with Bellator. Now, their first fight, go back and rewatch it, split decision win for Yaroslav Amosov. Now, it's an interesting one. Storley thinks he's got it in the bag after those 3 rounds because his corner tells him he is, I think they told him he was up, or I think they told him he was winning going into the 3rd round. Storley wins the 3rd. He's got a really good second half of the 3rd round. Amosov kind of, I wouldn't say gasses, but it's just Storley was in better condition at the end of that 3rd round, or the second half of the 3rd round, than Yaroslav Amosov. Both men scored 2 takedowns in that first fight. The wrestling was pretty even though I think later in the fight, obviously, the wrestling advantage goes to Logan Storley, but early in the fight, I would say Yaroslav Amosov was definitely doing better with the grappling side of things. The main difference in this fight was the striking. Yaroslav Amosov was doing a way better job striking in that fight than Logan Storley. And honestly, that's just something I would say, just in all, I think Yaroslav Amosov is a better striker than Logan Storley. A Storley primary wrestler who, his striking game is adapting and it is evolving, but I do think the striking game out of Yaroslav Amosov is slightly better than what Logan Storley does have to offer. Now, in this fight, again, what has been done since that first fight? Well, for Yaroslav Amosov, he did get a championship shot, and he did beat Douglas Lima. He beat him by unanimous decision. He dominated Douglas Lima. That fight was not very close, and Douglas Lima's about to fight in a couple months, but for Lima, he has not won a fight since 2019 where he beat Rory McDonald for the Bellator Championship. But Yaroslav Amosov goes in there, he dominates Douglas Lima for 5 rounds. For Logan Storley, since that fight against Yaroslav Amosov, he beat Dante Shiro by split decision in a fight he was a minus 3,000 favorite in, closer than you would like. He beat Stephen Gracie by unanimous decision, and he beats Michael Venom Page by split decision, even though that fight was not very close. I thought it was a pretty obvious decision win for Storley. Obviously, the judges had to make things interesting in the UK in that fight between Storley and MVP, but Logan Storley picks up the victory, and now we've been booked with this championship fight between him and Amosov. It's very interesting. Don't get me wrong. It's a very interesting fight. Again, I think that Amosov's a better striker. I think Logan Storley is. They're very even with wrestling, and it just depends on the fight who the better wrestler is going to be. It's such a competitive fight. I really think it is. I think it's closer than what at least the Tapology picks are displaying. On Tapology, you've got 89% for Yaroslav Amosov, and you got only 11% for the challenger or the interim champion, I would say, I guess, in Logan Storley. My final prediction, I'm taking Yaroslav Amosov. I think barely, though. I think Amosov is going to win by unanimous decision, but I think it's going to be close. I really think it's going to be close. I think Storley is going to win rounds. I think he's going to. I think Storley will take some rounds by out-wrestling Amosov. I think he's going to. I think there is going to be points like in that second half of the 3rd round, their first fight in Connecticut, where Logan Storley is going to take down Yaroslav Amosov, and he will likely hold him down for all 5 minutes, or at least half of a round. But there were points in that original fight where Yaroslav Amosov, again, dominated Storley on the ground as well. And on the feet, I think that's the big deciding factor. I think Amosov, in the points of the fight that aren't contested in the ground, the points in the fight where there are not scrambles in the ground or where either man is looking for a takedown, I think there's going to be points in the feet where Yaroslav Amosov shows himself as the better striker. Now, again, something that I will note is that Yaroslav Amosov has not fought in 1.5 years. He's not fought since the summer of 2021, and it's been a while for him. Obviously, circumstances he cannot control with the entire situation in Ukraine, obviously. But Amosov's finally getting the fight, and he's getting Logan Storley. Storley has fought 3 times since their original fight. We'll see how Amosov responds in this capacity. I think Amosov wins, but I'm not confident at all. I could definitely see a world where Logan Storley goes in there, wins 3 rounds on the ground, and that's all he needs to win the championship. However, I'm going to take the champion and the undefeated 26-0 Yaroslav Amosov. I think Amosov outstrikes Logan Storley where it matters. I think, again, when there are points in this fight where they're not contested on the ground. I think that's really where Yaroslav Amosov is going to go win his points, and that's where he's going to win the fight on the feet. Of course, the fight will be contested on the ground as well, but I think that's the main and important spot in this fight. Yaroslav Amosov outstriking Logan Storley when, again, the fight does not hit the mat. So we've got Yaroslav Amosov to become the undisputed Bellator welterweight champion, retaining his gold, and of course, taking that interim spot away from Logan Storley, becoming the undisputed champion. So folks, thank y'all for watching our Bellator 291 predictions here on the channel. We will be back for Bellator. I believe their next card is in a couple weeks. I have to check that real quick, but of course, if you haven't yet, go check out Nikita Kirillov and Ryan Spann, the main event for our UFC predictions that we just posted just yesterday. The next Bellator card will be in San Jose, March 10th. In the main event, you've got Usman Nurmagomedov taking on Benson Henderson for the lightweight championship, and also Tafik Musayev taking on Alexander Chablis in the Grand Prix as well. Both fights in the Grand Prix, and also Michael Venom Page taking on Gochi Yamuchi in an interesting stylistic matchup. So we'll be back for Bellator for that card, and of course UFC next week as well for John Jones and Le Bon Gamin Ciryl Gane for the vacant UFC heavyweight championship. Not going to want to miss either of those videos coming up in the channel soon, folks. Thank y'all for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below as well. Thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.